Hello, everybody, and welcome back in. I am starting my second sketchbook of my entire life here, and I'm just going to give you a quick peek at the 3 paintings we're going to do today. I do have timestamps, chapters set up, so if you're like, I don't want your flowers, lady, I just want that, go ahead and click on the chapter for that one, and it'll take you right there. This one took a lot longer than I anticipated. It's still very simple. It just took longer than my normal paintings. You know, I like to do fast paintings, and this one took, I don't know, 20 minutes or a half hour. I did speed it up in spots so as not to, in an attempt not to bore you. Anyway, I hope you enjoy. I hope you try one of these or that it gives you inspiration to try something similar. Either way, I hope you have fun. Let's go. All right, I'm going to come in and sketch because I was having an issue with, while practicing these, just going right in with paint. So I'm just going to go ahead and sketch. So we're going to start with one forward-facing daffodil. And these are not like true shapes of daffodils or anything. You can do as much as you want. You can be as loose as you want, but they do have 6 petals. And so I'm just kind of doing this as well as I can at this point. Okay, and then the one over here, I'm going to have it be pointing downwards. We are going to do our little thing like that, do our little trumpet, and then we're going to go. I want to be looser, you know, I'm finding myself, I try to be loose and then I'm like, no, that's not right. I'm like, that's not being loose, Carrie. So, you know, work in progress I am. There we go. All right, and then we'll add the stems and such later. Let's just go right in with our paint here. For these petals, I am using, let me show you what I'm using. This is my Paul Rubens set. I am using Indian yellow and some yellow ochre mixed together here. Oh, I don't know if I saw that. Yellow ochre, Indian yellow. I'll link my paints in the description if you want to use the same colors I am. Otherwise, just use what you've got. Let me show you. I have been pretty happy with these paints, but this is kind of the variety of colors that you get with this particular set. It's been good to me so far. All right, so we're just going to come on in. I do not know why I'm using this giant brush. I'm going to change brushes. I am going to change to a size 10 brush because that was crazy. Okay, and I have way too much water here from that big brush, so I'm tapping my brush on, or tapping or rolling on the paper towel, and just when you do that, it mops it up. See how it just drinks it, or like soaks it right up, kind of like a sponge. Now we're going to try that again. I'm going to just dip into my yellows, my yellow mixture, and we'll start over here. And we are going to let that dry completely. I'm going to dry it just for the sake of time. I'm going to add another coat of paint onto the petals, just to make them a little bit darker. And I am going to be looser here because I'm going to let some of the lighter colors shine through. Shine is not the word. Show through. And give it a little bit of variation. I do have another sketchbook. So I'm starting this sketchbook, and if you watched my last video that I did, you might have heard me say that I was thinking about doing a theme for this sketchbook. I don't have a theme in mind for this one, but I'm going to darken this up on the inside of that trumpet a little bit. But I do have a theme for the next sketchbook I'm going to try. And actually, I think I'm going to try two sketchbooks at once. So I'm going to do this one, and then I'm going to start the other one here pretty soon. I just put a little bit of orangish red. I have a little orange-red mixture in there, and I'm just going to start kind of putting that around this. I'm going to need a few different, well, at least a couple coats, if not a few, for this guy. And I'm probably going to put some lines on that trumpet as well. And then as we go in here, on this side, I'm going to do my wonky line. You can also just do like little lines. You know, like I said, I'm going to use pen at the end, so a lot of this won't be that big of a deal if it doesn't go the way you want it to. But I do want that bit of color variation. I like the red accent that some of the daffodils have. And see how it's kind of bleeding into the petals? I actually like that. If you don't like that, you can just do what we did before, which is clean your brush off, tap it on here, and then I could lift that out of there. I do not want to because I like it. So we're going to leave that, and I'm going to dry this now. And now that that is all dry, I am going to bring my paints in here to show you that my yellow mixture here, I'm going to come back in with the yellow ochre and make it mostly yellow ochre. And I'm going to water that down a little bit. And I'm going to tap it on my paper towel so it's not completely saturating my brush. And I'm just going to add a little bit more detail here and there. And you could go to a smaller brush now if you want. Otherwise, you can just use the very tip of whatever brush you might be using. All right. Tapped it on my paper towel one more time because there was just a little too much water on there. I'm just adding a little bit of shading, kind of where the petals meet the corona, and just giving a little bit of shading, maybe. Lines up there, give it some texture. And I believe this will be the final time that I come in with the reddish orange. Just gonna add a little bit more bold red around here. Same on this one. And then we'll put some going up this way as well. Texture in the trumpet, like so. And you know, watercolors always dry a little bit lighter, sometimes a lot lighter, depending on the color, depending on the brand, depending on the quality. But I think we will stop almost right there and dry this one. Actually, don't need to dry this because I'm really just going to go into the stems now, but let's see what we got here. And for the stems, I have mixed together two greens. I've mixed together tree green and hooker's green. I guess I can put it this way so you can read it. But tree green and hooker's green. I kind of want to have it coming out that way, but I think what makes the most sense is right here. Even though in my mind I really want it to be in between petals. Okay, it's just not how it always works. All right, there's that one. This one. I, again, want it to be between petals, but that would look weird. So we're going to do this. Go like that, and then maybe over here we'll have a one that's kind of bent over. You know how that happens. Right. Maybe the same over here. Little bendy one here. And then let's do, maybe we'll do some more just like grasses, or maybe maybe we'll do even some buds that haven't quite blossomed yet. Part of me wants to add more little grass or other daffodils, but I'm going to do a background, I've decided. And I'm a little scared of that because this paper, well, maybe it's okay. It's bumping up a little bit on the back, so I'm thinking if I add water, it's really going to be something else, but whatever, I'm experimenting. So we will see what happens with this paper. Okay, I am really, really, really playing here. So I've got a clean-ish brush. I see that it has a little bit of yellow on it, so I'm going to clean it a little bit better. And you kind of have to work fast when you do stuff like this. What I'm doing is I'm really just kind of wetting the white spaces in between everything, trying not to activate any of the stuff that's already there. But then the part where you have to move kind of quickly is because this paint will dry, or sorry, the water will dry up pretty quickly. And so I'm going to do some more greens down here, and I'm just going to kind of dab some in. Wet on wet technique here. So we're going to use those, just going to dab, dab, dab here and there. And then I'm going to go into the yellow green and let that do its thing over in here. And I'll get closer to the stems as well. But right now we're just laying the color in, letting it kind of run together. And this is where I'm going to come in while everything's still wet. I'm just going to come in and get a little bit closer to the stems. Still just letting things run though, and blend, I should say. Okay, liking that. And now up here, I'm going to bring the water up here, and it's okay that the greens are coming up here. I am going to do some different colors in this area, but quite a bit of water. So you don't want water running like you're seeing here. So that's where you go back to your paper towel, dab it in there, you know, kind of dry your brush, and then it acts like a sponge. You still want everything to be wet though. So, all right, purple, a color that I very rarely use, is going to be in here, but I'm going to start with some blues. It does have some purple on it anyway, because I just dipped in that first, but still too much water. I did not mop that up quite enough. And let's just put the purples in there like that. Okay, and we'll grab our blues. I know it's looking crazy. It's okay. We're gonna just let it do its thing. All right, let's let that dry, and I'll be right back. And we are coming in with a size 8. Now, this is all dry, so I don't have to worry about using a waterproof pen. I just generally do because that's what I have on hand. If you don't have one, that's okay. You just want to make sure you use waterproof if you are using pen first. And now this is where I'm going to try to be just more playful, and I'm gonna hold my pen up a little bit higher so that I don't have all this control, you know. And I'm just gonna kind of scratch in an outline here. Okay. Let's have fun with it. And the funny thing is I'm like holding my breath, so that's not fun. I just realized that. There is a little bit of a dark spot inside of the trumpet. And then we're gonna make these lines even darker than the yellow ochre made them. Just giving more texture and, interest. All right, and his stem. All right, one more little bud. The other thing you can do if you don't want to do a background like this is you could just do some splatter on here. I think I'm going to draw in just with pen. I'm going to maybe do just some little lines on our young little daffodils. All right, there you have it. I don't know, I'm just adding little lines here and there. Don't ask, I don't know, I'm just doing what feels good to me. I do want to make this a little bolder over here. Oops, let go, let go. All right, I think I will add the word daffodils, maybe just right on the side here. And you know what's so funny? I am so scared to write the word daffodils right now because I feel like I'm going to misspell it. I'm going to go to a smaller pen. Okay, I'm just going to go for it. Make sure this is good and dry. And this is a very small nib, so let's see if it writes well even on this paper. Daffodils, you can barely even see it, huh? Can't even see it. Okay, that's okay. You know what? I'm learning. I'm playing it safe for a second. In the future, I'll use a bigger pen. I could also go over this with another pen, but I'm leaving it for now. And we're calling it good. Okay, stick around. All right, so this is the next day after I painted this one. And I was hoping, I don't know what I was hoping. I was just hoping the paper would be better, but you can see that you can see through the paper, right? So that just surprised me. I thought Hanamula, I just thought it would be a little bit better, but maybe it's going to be fine. I'm still going to paint on it. We're going to see what happens. We're going to paint a bird for this page. Let me show you some practice ones I was doing this morning. We've got this little guy. We've got this little guy. I was kind of doing Iowa State Cyclone colors because they're playing this weekend. This one gave me the idea of doing a bird that is on this page, kind of looking at this page and judging what I'm going to do on this page. And then I did this one. I was in a mood, I guess. And then I did this one. And this is ultimately kind of the style that I'm going to go for because it was just fun to do. Oh, I had wet on my paper, I guess. All right. So I'm going to just clip this side down, and then I'll hold the other side while I'm painting. To start off with, I'm going to have some clean water, but I'm actually going to put some yellow in it just so you can see where I'm laying the water down. And we're just going to do a circle here. And the yellow is going to be fine for my purposes because of the colors I'll be using. It will play nicely with them. All right, so there's our water laid in there. And now I'm going to take a color that I mixed together, some blue and some green, and I'm just going to start tapping in there, okay? And you don't have to mix colors ahead of time. You could actually just, if you like this color combination, for instance, you could just, so there's the blue-green, and then I could actually just take some straight blue and put that in there too, and just let them mix right on the page. And I'm tapping it in because I don't really want brush strokes. I don't really want anything like that happening. I'm noticing, so, this paper is new to me because the sketchbook is new to me. That water dried so fast. And the bumpy paper is making the water pool in different places. But that's okay. We're just going to kind of work with it. See what we got here. All right. I am going to come around the edges a little bit and smooth it just because this next step is super duper fun. While your paper is still wet, we're going to take a toothpick. And oh, I got to show you my toothpick holder. What do you think? I got to show you. I'm going to take the toothpicks out. I know, squirrel moment here, but what do you think? Is he cool or is he creepy? I mean, come on, it's a wood carving. It's an Henri wood carving. I think maybe a little bit of both. Maybe a little bit of creepy and a little bit of cool. Creative, nonetheless. Okay, back to the toothpick. And while this is still wet, hopefully I didn't talk too much, we are just going to take our toothpick and just fan some of the color out here to make him extra fuzzy and maybe a little extra frazzled, maybe a little extra judgmental, because he's going to be looking at what I'm painting on that page. And you can see what's happening here. You could totally pivot right now and make a blowfish if you wanted to. And then we're going to let this dry. I might kind of hesitantly mop up some of this water. My brush is tapped on my, what do you call it? On my paper towel, so it's a little dry. I just think these pools, this paper cannot handle it. Oh my goodness. All right, we're going to let this dry and I will be back. Actually, while it's still a little bit wet, I changed my mind. I'm going to do it differently than I did when I was practicing. I am going to go ahead and put the tail. I think instead of having it point down like I did, I'm going to have it go. We're going to just go like this and just kind of have it flare out like this. And you can always come back in later and add more color, make it a little bit more saturated. We'll see how she dries. Okay, I'll be right back. All right, this is all dry. So the next step, I am actually going to get my bleed-proof white here. Dr. P.H. Martin's bleed-proof white. And we are going to start working on the eyes. And I'm just going to get a little bit on my brush and make the eye go right. Staring at my painting that I'm going to do next. I'm doing back-to-back paintings today. Okay. There's like a chunk in there. We can just go with it. We'll let that dry. Actually, I started drying it with this, and I guess it was a bubble because it popped. And we'll go ahead and put the black part of the eye in there. I want to make it like this perfect little circle, but then I'm also like, it's okay, it's okay. Letting that dry now. And back with the bleed-proof white, just to put a little highlight in the eye. For funsies. All right, that looks good. And now I am going to grab my number 8 Micron. And we're going to put a beak in there. It really does look like a blowfish, doesn't it? All right, instead of doing the beak that I did earlier, I'm just going to go, oh, this pen is running out of ink. Okay, one moment. Let me change that. I don't have another 8 on hand, but I can use my 5. Should be fine. Oh gosh, this paper. And then I'm going to make a disapproving beak, grimace. Then we'll go right into the legs. All right, and we'll make one a little bit farther away because he is standing to the side. And then I'm going to do white wings rather than black because I think the white will be easier to see. This is my jelly roll, size 8. I usually use my 10, but that one is also running out of ink. So I'm just going to do a very elementary wing there. And maybe make some highlights in the tail like that. And then we'll give him a little ground to stand on. I'm going to move this just a little bit. Give him a little shadow here under his feet so it doesn't look like he's floating in the air. And there we have it. What do you think? I think he's cute. That was so easy. And actually, I think he needs a little bit of hair. Don't you? I do. We're going to just come up here, give some, let's see, let's do it some curly. Oh my gosh, the paper is so bendy that oh my gosh, whatever. Yeah, I don't think I can really recommend this book, or maybe, again, I'm going to check into it. Maybe I'm doing something incorrectly, or maybe I got the wrong one. We'll see. Okay, I love him so much, and now we are just going to move right into, I'm going to let this dry actually, and then we'll move right into the next painting and see what he's being so judgmental about. And I'm actually going to continue with this color scheme just because A, that's what I have in my palette, and B, I'm going to show you from my first sketchbook. Somebody, actually, if I'm remembering correctly, a couple people asked if I would do a tutorial on a specific painting. Oh, this one. And so I'm about to give you this tutorial, and it is so fast and so easy. I think you're going to like it. All right. So as you can see, that was already the same kind of colors as that one was. And I did add a little bit of a different ratio. So yeah, let me try to fix the lighting here. Okay, that's better. And for this one, I'm going to move the clip over on this side. And hopefully once I kind of keep this book closed a little bit, maybe the pages will flatten out. I don't know. Maybe, how people show their sketchbooks and they're all crumply and it's kind of satisfying to see. Maybe that's what that will happen here. That didn't really happen with my first one. I mean, a little bit, but it's pretty intact. I don't know. The pages of my super duper cheap $5 sketchbook were they're a lot thicker than this. So, okay, moving right along. To start off with, we are going to use some clean-ish water. My water's a little bit tinted from this right here, but which is totally fine. Actually, I'm going to do what I did before and put a little bit of yellow in it so that hopefully you can see what I'm doing here, okay? I'm going to wet my paper somewhat haphazardly, but I do have a plan. So we're going to just wet it, and we're going to purposefully leave some of it dry right here for now. I'm going to move, there's a lot of water up here. I'm going to try to just move some of that down rather than getting more. Again, I did find that this paper, I guess it soaks it up. I don't know, this water dries very quickly on here. All right. We are going to just leave it like this and just start adding our colors in here. Very similar to how we did the bird. We're going to tap some of this in. It's a little greener than I wanted, so I'm going to add some blue here. All right. Again, you don't have to mix the colors ahead of time because you can mix them right on the paper if you'd like. All right. That in there before everything dries up. Okay. Got that on there. And while the paint is still wet, I am going to tap my brush on the paper towel, soak up a little bit of I'm barely touching the water, just letting it kind of soak up some of the little stuff that's pooling there. Again, new sketchbook. I don't know how this paper behaves, but I am learning very quickly that it's different from any other paper I've used. While this is somewhat wet, I'm coming right into this part to just somewhat subtly bring in um, a very light version of what's happening here. And if you see any edges that are maybe like, you're like, that is way too straight, what you do is, it doesn't work as well if the paint is dry, but you come right on the outside of it and come up and touch it with the water. And then it'll just kind of like, that will leave the water out a little bit, so it's not so kind of perfectly straight in any area. We'll do the same up here, maybe a little bit over here, although there's going to be trees in here, so you're not going to be able to see everything anyway. I'm going to mop up some of that. All right, and now we're going to let this dry. I'll probably help it dry a little bit with my heat gun here, my heat tool, and I'll be right back. And now we are ready for our trees. This is very dry, and I am just going to do a silhouette just like in my first sketchbook. And we'll start with our largest tree. Maybe we'll do that kind of right here, our tallest tree. And you can kind of like do a little guide for your trunk. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect. Now, one thing that I have started doing lately with trees is I just go straight down the middle first. Because sometimes I lose my way going, I need to go wider or whatever. So I'm just kind of going down the middle, and then I will do the rest of the branches. Because especially for the bigger trees, because yeah, otherwise you're doing a lot of zigzagging, but kind of have to go pretty wide with it. So this just, for me, this is just what helps my brain. All right, so we'll just stop there, and then we'll kind of like leave that skinny up here, and then I just kind of like go down one side. And you don't have to make them, I'm not doing swoopies or, you know, they can be different directions because branches are not perfect, you know? They're not perfectly symmetrical or anything like that. So, and then we'll come down the other side. Just kind of do the similar. I'm just putting lines, you know what I'm doing? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Just putting some lines here. All right, we're just going to go right into our second tree, which we will do, how about we'll do a medium tree right here. Again, you can just do a little guide here. Keep you focused on that center part there. Somewhat straight line down the middle, and then work on our sides. And I will most likely be going over these again because you can see when it dries, it gets pretty light just because it just depends on how much paint you have on your brush versus water. And then we'll do our short little guy here. Same, same, same. Now this one's probably small enough that we can just kind of go back and forth and do the whole thing. And again, I've said this in previous videos, but in case you're new here, I sometimes leave a lot more space on the first go round, and then I fill it in more if I feel like it in the second go round. So I'm going to let these dry first and then come back and fill it in where I see needed. All right, most of that is dry. And apologies, I have not been telling you the size of my brush. This is a 10 that I've been using for this. I've also used, I think for the background, I used a 14. And then sometimes I bring in my 6. But I tend to just do one brush if I can. Obviously, if I'm using that giant one, maybe not. But like I could use the 6 for this one right here. And that might be good. But I can also just lightly use the tip of this brush. And I'm just kind of, I'm not going over everything I did. And I'm not filling in every space because you do want a little bit of a variation of color. Because there's going to be some darker spots and some lighter spots. And you just fill it into the point that you like it, is what I like to say. Same with these guys. Honestly, this one I could have left it as is and not come in with a second coat on these, and I think it was fine. But I kind of like to come in and just kind of squiggly do some lines in here. And we'll do the little guy again, and then we're going to be done. And then I'm going to tell you, I've changed my mind. I don't think that bird is judgmental anymore. I think he's like bummed because he's not in this beautiful little scene. He's like, I just want to go for a walk in the woods. Okay, that's my brain making an appearance. Okay, that's it. How fast and easy is that? It's a beautiful sketchbook page. I hope you like it. Let me know. Let me know on all 3 if you are going to try any of them. And have fun. Whatever you do, have fun. I hope to see you in the next video. Until then, take care.